Great news for Social Security for people born in 1960. You remember last year when everyone was freaking out, and rightly so, man, rightly so. My man Andrew Biggs brought that to our attention about the AWI decreasing, and that could be a significant reduction in Social Security benefits for people born in 1960, even potentially 1961 as well. Not just a one-time hit, forever. That's bad. And then the chief actuary of Social Security gave a testimony in front of the Senate in July 7th last year, 2020, and he had predicted at that point that the AWI could drop by 9.3% or something like that, and everybody was flipping out. Now, what happened was, and I did a video, I probably did 5 videos on this. I said, hold the horses, stop. We had already seen an increase in GDP and employment numbers by the time he had given that presentation. We had already seen it. And as such, his numbers were at the bottom. It was like saying the markets will never recover when it was in March 15th of 2020. We're at the bottom, the markets are doomed. It's like when his presentation was based on numbers at the bottom of the AWI, the average wage index, the employment numbers and salaries and whatnot. And I tell you, people ran with that. And even worse, they ran with it into November. They ran with it even into this year too. It's just all fear porn. And if anyone had written an article about the average wage, I'm sorry, and there's some good people out here, I'm not gonna name names, but they should never have fallen for this crap. I was stunned to see people who I was like, how can you fall for this? Back in July, I get it. Certainly not back in November. Certainly not into 2021, because we saw what happened with GDP. It began to increase in the beginning of the end of the second quarter, Q2 of 2020. We saw it. And so the premise was based on the growth was going to be down 35% in Q2, another like 10% in Q3, then maybe a flattening in Q4 of 2020. And it wasn't anywhere near that. We had a bad growth in Q2, and then we actually had positive growth in Q3, huge growth in Q4, and that sealed the deal. We knew at that point the AWI would be small negative to positive. Horrible, ignorant people writing about that stuff. Look, I'm sorry, it pisses me off. They were pushing the fear on that, and it just ticks me off, man. Either by ignorance, and a lot of these guys, I think, was just ignorant. They just saw AARP, or they saw Yahoo News, or they saw Bloomberg, and they didn't realize the freaking Social Security chief actuary. Nothing had changed from July 7th. He gave that presentation. It just is nuts. All right, so let's go into this. This from Booth Financial Consulting. Start to become a fan of these guys. Not all that familiar with who they are, but I've read a number of articles from them, and they're top shelf guys. I don't know what they do for I don't know, but I mean, in terms of their writings, I'm a big fan. We expect that the national AWI average wage index, which is a whole issue if you're born in 1960, that's what you're worried about, it increased in 2020. They expect it actually increased by 1%. Now here's where the talk about, right here. My best estimate is that the national AWI for Social Security purposes rose by about 1% in 2020, which be a much better performance than some expert projections for last year for a significant decline, over 9.5%. And better than a small 0.5% decline estimated for most recently in January by the CBO. 100%, dude. 100%. A reasonable range for my estimate of AWI growth for 2020 would be somewhere between a flat and 2% increase. As more and more information becomes available about economic activity in 2020, our estimate has been rising for the AWI. The average wage index affects Social Security benefits. The maximum amount of wages subject to Social Security taxes and other parameters of the Social Security system is particularly important for calculating the future benefits for people turning age 60. Yeah, 100%. Most of the uncertainty in the measure for 2020 appears on the unemployment side of the calculation. We have a good sense of where economy-wide wages were in 2020, but the unique measure of unemployment for AWI purposes makes for a good bit of uncertainty. Yep. And then he just goes into what the AWI is, how they figured it out. And I'm literally not going to go in that. But let's see if we talk about, hold on just a sec. He says, because AWI, okay, any increase in the AWI would be good news for people who turn 60 in 2020, because the AWI of that year a person turns 60 has an outside effect on a worker's future benefits forever. Projections last year during the worst of the recession were for decreases significantly so. Again, it's all based on that. And look, Andrew Biggs called it out from AEI, American Enterprise Institute. I'm freaking that. He did that back in April of 2020. It started making the rounds. I did videos on it, interviewed Andrew. But then we saw the numbers. And I said, oh, no big deal. It was just not a big deal. Then we got the CBO in January. They predicted a decline of 0.5 for AWI. That's basically flattening. Then we estimated flat in 2020. In March, said Booth Financial Consulting. As more information becomes available, economy-wide wages and salaries, our expectation for growth keeps getting larger. All right, that's fantastic. He goes into what the AWI is. I'm going to stop there, but that's good stuff, man. And you can I'll link to this. So whoever sent me this, appreciate it. This is I think my man Steve did. Forgot his name off the top of my head. This is good. You can't sit. I mean, anyone can sit there and be negative Nelly all they want, but that'd be stupid. Why would you be negative Nelly, man? I mean, what are you going to do to be negative? Why? Why are you encouraging yourself to be negative when the numbers are actually good? Because of future concerns, I get you, but you can only deal with what you have right now. Right now, it's good. It's good news. So take the good news when you can get it. All right, we'll see you guys. Love to hear your comments.